provide the fire, and I'll provide the sacrifice. You provide the Spirit, and I will open up inside. You provide the fire, and I'll provide the sacrifice. You provide the Spirit, and I will open up inside. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. You provide the fire, and I'll provide the sacrifice. You provide the Spirit, and I will open up inside. So you provide the fire, and I'll provide the sacrifice. You provide the Spirit, and I will open up inside. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Good morning, Cityside. Tiff is out this week. It's just me singing. She's taking some well-deserved vacation time. So help me out with this one, please. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me. Someone I've needed so long. For once, unafraid, I can go where life leads me. Somehow I know I'll be strong. For once I can touch what my heart used to dream of long before I knew. Someone warm like you could make my dreams come true. For once in my life, I won't let sorrow hurt me, not like it's hurt me before. For once I have something I know won't desert me. I'm not alone anymore. For once I can say This is mine, you can take it. Long as I know I have love, I can make it. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me. For once in my life, I won't let sorrow hurt me, not like it's hurt me before. For once I have something I know won't desert me. I'm not alone anymore. For once I can say, this is mine, you can't take it. Long as I know I have love, I can make it. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me. Thank you.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you, Greg. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Happy Sunday here at Cityside. You know, it's one of those things where I keep thinking, okay, summer was very short this year. It's like, what, 50 degrees today? It's crazy. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Each week you can join us here in person by making a reservation, and you can find that reservation tab on our website. And I hope you will join us in person. We have a few people today. I'm so glad to see so many faces in real life, and we really love connecting with you. So consider coming and spending some time with us here in person. You can find the Sunday Bulletin online as well on our website. The website's a fantastic resource. So the Sunday Bulletin is on the homepage, and you can follow along with today's service with lyrics and affirmations and other bits of information that are really great to have. So it's a wonderful resource, and go ahead and grab it. We are a social media friendly community. For some reason, I'm having a hard time saying that phrase. Obviously, because we're live streaming and so forth. So please let people know through your various channels. I'll give you $10 if you do a TikTok on Cityside. See me after service. At Cityside, we're about a practical spirituality that you can use to create the life that you want. We embrace new thought and wisdom teachings, and we are affiliated with the Centers for Spiritual Living. And we honor all paths, and we practice oneness. This oneness, this thing called God, is one with us. We are one with it. We are really about us providing a supportive community where you can explore your own spiritual path and connect with the spirit and wisdom within you. So today, our board member and great friend Jeff Staten is holding vigil, which is a meditative state, allowing us to have a deep and immersive experience. So we are so grateful for Jeff and his service, and we just kind of lean into that experience. So just take a breath and be present here and now with this experience today. Our May theme is living from a prosperity mindset. I love it. Just living from a prosperity mindset and tapping into the divine flow. Today, Reverend Aimee shares her message, Are you open to receive your good? And this always makes me think about, where am I not open, which is probably not the thing I should focus on. So I'm going to let that go. I'm going to be open to saying yes to all the good that is mine, and I am going to be open to receiving Reverend Aimee's message today. Now, please join me in speaking our mission and vision aloud. We do this to really anchor this and remind ourselves and not drift off, have mission drift, but be centered in what our intention is. And our vision and mission is that we envision an empowered community that is living in a world of unconditional love in action. Our mission is to create safe spaces to explore and deepen our faith, grow in spiritual relationship, and connect with our authentic nature.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Judy Ranagar-Meza, and I'm here to offer our reading, brief meditation, and a prayer to open our service. So our reading today is from the book, The Art of Life by Ernest Holmes. The law of life is like a mirror. It reflects back to you the images of your thoughts in exactly the way you think them. You cannot say that it is little or that it gives you but a small portion of itself when your own thought patterns are limiting this gift. Life has already delivered everything it has to you. But in your personal experience, even that which is given must of necessity be limited to that which you take. It is then of greatest value to learn how to receive more abundantly. Just as one studying the piano patiently goes over his lesson until finally his actions become automatic, so in using the life principle, you must be patient with yourself. You must learn to strike the right chord. The right chord is always one of harmony. Learn to receive more by daily practicing the presence of abundance. Learn to use the law of life in a more expansive manner by daily practicing belief in it. At first, this may sound strange because probably you will say, I already believe in it. Remember, your belief in it is perhaps somewhat limited by your experience. And so you are practicing a greater expectation. You are believing in more and accepting more. You are opening every channel of your mind to a larger influx. And so now I invite you to turn within in a way that is most comfortable for you, perhaps closing your eyes or having a soft gaze, and just going to that place of center where we can open our minds and every channel to this greater influx, into this place of the divine within us. So we will be in silent meditation for a couple of minutes. And so now as we stay in that place of centered, that place of peace and grace, through this prayer we just strike that chord of harmony with that one presence, that one life, that one peace, that one grace, the power and the wisdom of God that I know is here present in me and in each person in this room and all of those connecting online. And indeed, in all creation, we are all one with this presence of God, this peace, this love, and this grace. And so it is from this place of oneness that I speak a word of blessing upon our service, knowing that this chord of harmony moves through each of us in this service, and it unfolds in exactly the right way for each and every one of us. We receive that which we most need to receive. And so I bless all those who have come together to make this service possible, our music team that lifts us up so much every Sunday in song and in celebration, and our tech team that makes all of our connections, virtual and in person, possible, and all the hearts and hands who come together to set up and to make our service just flow with grace and ease. And I bless Reverend Aimee as she delivers her message today about how to open ourselves up and receive that which is ours to receive. And I know that she has opened herself up to the divine flow so that it may flow through her and out to each of us in this service today. I bless this service. I bless our community as we continue to come together in person and online, and as we grow and deepen in faith and love as a community. I release this prayer. I call it all good. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Judy. The song that I chose for the feature today is a song called More I Cannot Wish You from the musical Guys and Dolls. Velvet, I can wish you for the collar of your coat, and fortune smiling all along the way. But more I cannot wish you than to wish you find your love, your own true love this day. Mansions I can wish you, 7 footmen all in red, and calling cards upon a silver tray. But more I cannot wish you than to wish you find your love, your own true love this day. Standing there, gazing at you, full of the bloom of youth. Standing there, gazing at you with a sheepish eye and a look of the truth. Music, I can wish you merry music while you're young, and wisdom when your hair has turned to gray. But more I cannot wish you than to wish you find your love, your own true love this day. With a sheepish eye and a look of the truth, and the strong arms to carry you away.
Good morning. It's so nice to talk to people in the room and to the people online, taking nothing away from you. But we had a long time where there weren't people in the room. So it's really lovely to have both. And I just want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day, and especially want to remember the people who have served our country today, especially those people who lost their life for our country. They fought and served for our freedom. So I just appreciate that. It always makes me think of my parents and that greatest generation thing especially. So I'm going to start with a story, and it's kind of an old-fashioned story, and I want to tee it up that way because I was telling the story to Rich last night, and he's like, "You can't say that anymore, Aimee." I'm like, "Okay." So if I say something that you're like, "People don't say that anymore," just grant me a little grace on this. So this is a story that William Hornaday tells in his book, Your Aladdin's Lamp, and if you've never heard of him, he was one of the key people on Ernest Holmes' team, and he took over Ernest Holmes' radio show when Ernest got too busy. So he was in his office one day, and I assume this is like the 1950s probably, and his assistant comes in and says, "Dr. Bill, there's a young woman here, and I think she's suicidal." So this young woman walks in, and her appearance is very unattractive. She has very messy hair. Her clothes and her shoes are wrinkled. This is the old-fashioned part, too. Her stockings were wrinkled and her slip was showing. So you got to be old enough to remember when we wore stockings and slips. It was a while ago. But the big thing was that her teeth were not good, and it distorted her whole mouth because her teeth were not good. And she says to him, "I heard you on the radio last night when you said, are you full of self-pity tonight?" And she said, "I was on my way to jump off a bridge, and then I get there, and they've blocked it so no one can do that. And you said on your show that there wasn't a problem that couldn't be solved, and I wondered how you could get me a date." And Bill says, "Is that a date? That's all you want?" And she says, "That'd be a start. I'm 27. I've never been on a date. The only thing that ever happened for me is I danced with a fat boy in 8th grade at the school dance because my teacher made me. Other than that, nothing." So Bill responds, and I think this is where it's like, this is not a modern story. I think it's a little nervy. I don't know if I'd say this to someone. He says to her, "You haven't really wanted a date lately." And she says, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Your clothes, your hair, your nails, those flats you're wearing. A girl who wants a date puts her best foot forward." That's old-fashioned, too, putting your best foot forward. But she said, "My best foot couldn't possibly get ahead of my teeth." She said, "Even you, that's the only thing you saw was my teeth." And he says, "Well, you listen to my radio program. I believe in a good God." And she says, "Well, that's where we differ. He sure wasn't there when I was born." And so he says to himself, here's somebody else. They're mad at God. And as he's talking to her, he learns that her parents were kind of religious fanatics, and they basically said to her, "We don't believe in tampering with God's creation, so you are how you are, and God made you this way for a reason of his own." And Bill responded to her, "And you believed them." And so she goes on to tell her story. She went to college. She was a well-educated young woman. She was very smart. And she said, "When I first started college, I used to ask God, like, what have I done to deserve this? And how do I make amends for whatever I did?" And she said her family, she rarely saw her family because she embarrassed them. And at work, even though she was extremely smart and good at math, she worked for a bank, they put her in the back room because of her appearance. And she had been a good student. She had been a Phi Beta Kappa key person. Well, this is a big deal, right? And he said, "I want you to start wearing that key. I want you to start being proud of that." And he says, "I'm looking at you, and I see that you have a lovely complexion. You have beautiful eyes." He also said, I just have to say this, even though Rich said I couldn't say this, "a good figure." You can't say that anymore, but I'm saying it. temptation. And you have youth, and you're smart, and you have credentials, and you're independent, and you have a good job, and you have a charming voice. Why would you embrace a negative idea about yourself with so much intensity? And so he said to her, what we feel about ourselves, we become. You think you're unattractive, you think that you have no chance for love, you think because you believe it, people believe it about you. And there's a power within you that accepts responsibility for every problem when you seek it and when you decide on a definite line of action. So he sends her off with an Ernest Holmes book, and after he prays for her, and he talks to her about working with the affirmative in her life, about affirming beauty and love and happiness and all the things she wanted. So about 6 months later, she comes back. She was well-dressed. She was well-groomed. She had a handsome guy with her, and she was wearing an engagement ring. And it turns out that she worked with this guy she was engaged to at the bank. And when she started to improve her appearance, he started to talk to her more, and he realized what an amazing person he was. And he actually said to Dr. Hornaday, she never got her teeth fixed because she never had the money. And I'm going to do that for her. And not to fix her, but to support her, right? So I love that story because it's a perfect example of what we're talking about, like getting a bigger picture for our life, opening to a greater possibility. Emma Curtis Hopkins said, "There's good for me and I ought to have it." So what we're talking about today is really releasing any blocks in your openness to the good that's always seeking you, and honestly, the good that's always present, because I think it's easy sometimes for us to overlook what's present because we're focused on what's absent. And I invite you to just pick an area in your life where you want to have an expansion, where you think that maybe something more is not possible for you, and just hold that in mind today, and we're going to call forth a shift in that for you. As Judy read to us from Ernest Holmes, The Art of Life, which is a sweet little book, the law of life is like a mirror, and it reflects back to you the image of your thoughts in exactly the way you think them. It is then of great value to learn to receive more abundantly. You are practicing a great expectation. You are believing in more and accepting more. You are opening every channel of your mind to a larger influx. So we need to start by looking at what blocks us, right? And it reminds me of that Gay Hendricks book. Did anybody ever read the book? What the heck was it called? It's the book with the upper limit. I can't think of the name now. I didn't write it down in my notes. But this idea that we can have an upper limit problem. And what is that? That we can only receive so much good within ourselves. Like things will start going well for us. And then he said he realized this himself. That's why he talked about it, that he had an upper limit problem, that he would start everything would be going well, and then he'd in himself say, well, something has to go wrong now, and he'd sabotage himself. So we really want to clear away everything that blocks this upper limit problem that we can have. And when I think about the upper limit problem, I'm like, it's really about fear, right? It's like we let our fear step in on us. Lawrence Bolt talks about 4 types of fear, which have different manifestations, and I think this is just interesting to recognize, like what type of fear comes up for each of us. So the first type of fear is insecurity. And that can show up in a lot of different ways, but what does the voice in our head say when we're insecure? It says, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, things never work out for me. And how do we remedy insecurity? We remedy it through self-reliance, and I would also say reliance on spirit, right? Because we're not doing this ourselves. But recognize that you already have the resources within you to create and do what you want to do, and that does not depend on anybody else. That depends on you. And we would say you're part of the divine, and within you, you have everything you need. If you turn to Spirit, Spirit turns to you. Spirit is sufficient for everything you need. The second type of fear is anxiety, which is really the fear of losing control. And we can become a control freak when we have anxiety, or we can become very passive. Everyone's a little bit different. And, part of my invitation to you today is just to be aware, like, where do you go when fear gets you, right? And what might the voice in your head be saying when you're in anxiety? It might be catastrophizing, right? It might be figuring out, if this happens, then that's going to happen, and I think that'll happen. Or it could just be a quiet underlying anxiety. Everybody's a little bit different. And it could also be strategizing how to change or control other people or other things, right? Let's be honest. Guilty, right? So the advice here is to focus on what you can and can't control. You can control how you think, you can control how you feel, and you can control what you do. Spiritually, this reminds me, it's a great time to practice the serenity prayer, right? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So if you're in a situation where you constantly feel the need for change, perhaps it's time for a little introspection about whether you want to call in something new or get some support. But you can always come back to the serenity prayer, help me to accept the things I can't change. And I would add onto that serenity prayer and say, and know that Spirit's with you, that you're not doing it by yourself. So whatever the circumstance of your life is, Spirit can help you shift it. The third type of fear is the fear of failure. I think we can all probably relate to that, right? And what do we do when we fear failure? We might try too hard, or we might stop trying at all and just sort of sabotage ourselves because we're so afraid that we're going to fail that we don't go for it. You're not what you do. You're not what you accomplish. You are valuable simply because you have the divine within you, right? You are part of it, and you're a unique expression of it, whoever you are, and however you are a unique expression of the divine, and so you're worthy regardless. And how do we work with this type of fear? The way we work with this type of fear is self-acceptance and appreciating who we are, who you are. I think this has been a big gift of this path for me. I don't think I accepted myself before I found this because I was so, other people's voices were so strong in my head about how I should be. And most of the time that doesn't happen anymore. I still have my moments, just being real, I have my moments. But really accepting that, we only fail in life when we fail to concentrate on what we want. That's the only time we fail. Life is about learning. So, you go hit a ball at bat, right? It's not perfect. What do? The next time you make adjustments. And that's how we have to hold life. It's a learning opportunity. And you're doing your best. And, sometimes a door is meant to close for us. And that's why things aren't working. But just being in this place of trusting that in Spirit you can never be a failure because the essence of who you are is already wholeness. And how God created you, you're already good enough. There's nothing to prove. The last type of fear is fear of rejection. And, they say for most of us this starts in childhood. And as I was preparing this, I was thinking, well, I can remember this thing from my childhood and that thing from my childhood and whatever. But what I want to say to you is we can spend our entire life excavating what happened to us in the past, or we can just say, hey, this is the experience I'm having, and I choose to shift it, right? I choose to shift it. I choose not to live in whatever, my story of the past is. But the best strategy to overcome our fear of rejection is actually to focus on our own growth, to focus on becoming the person you want to be, to focus on learning and not making your happiness dependent on somebody else. And I don't know which of these 4 fears you relate to. I know for me, I think rejection is one that has been present, and I think I let life make me a little skeptical in the relationship category. And when I started dating Rich, he actually called me out on it. He's like, you're just kind of skeptical. I'm like, oh, okay, kind of got my number there. But I was managing my expectations, right? I was looking, I felt like I had missed red flags in the past. So I was looking, okay, what are the red flags, But I finally realized, I had to let go of my skepticism in service of the relationship. If I wanted to give the relationship a chance, I had to let go of my skepticism. And so I just share that because I think we all have things we got to let go of and just embrace a little bit of courage and bravery and use these principles to help us shift things. There is a simple formula that Lawrence Bolt shares in how to be, do, or have anything. And it's a 3-step formula, but before I share it, I want to talk a little bit about how life works. What you do affects what you think about yourself. And what you think about yourself affects what you do. So it's a circle, right? And so our subconscious mind is always sort of checking out what's going on, right? So your subconscious mind makes sure that you receive what it determines you deserve, as indicated by the actions it observes you taking. Does that make sense? So if your subconscious mind sees you behaving like you're a failure, it's gonna be like, okay, this person's generating, I'm generating failure, whatever. I think if I explain experience, and if you're acting like a success, the same thing's true. Your subconscious mind decides you deserve whatever comes to you, and it helps you to get it then. So really, this is why we want to stay focused on what we're giving our attention to. And I'll relate this also to the law of attraction. Your energy, your vibration, pick whatever word you want. Your emotions are sending a message to the law about what you want, right? And so acting as if you're a success raises your vibration to the level of what you're calling in. So to receive, you want to act in ways that convince your subconscious mind that you deserve, to call in what you deserve, and are prepared to receive the results that you're calling in. So the first step is act like you know it will happen. And in The Secret, they say it a different way. They say ask, believe, receive, right? So just to relate it to what we talk about a lot here. So when we act as if it will happen, then we're strengthening our muscle of belief, right? You might be sitting listening to me saying, I just can't jump this far in my mind, right? To just call in something bigger for myself. That sounds simple when you say it, but I just can't jump that far. And what I want to say to you is, if you can't get all the way to where you want to be in your mind, right, just take the next step. Take the next step. Could you believe that a little more is possible? Could you take a class? Could you talk to someone who has done what you wanted to do, or that is having the experience you want to have? I remember, when I was single for a long time and I wasn't really dating anyone that I was into, I remember looking at some of my friends and thinking, my friends have great relationships. If my friends have great relationships, I can have great relationships. And if I have great relationships with my friends, why couldn't I have a great relationship with the person I'm with? So that's what I'm talking about. Just find ways to expand the container for your good. Because anytime we take even a small step, the universe conspires with us. Spirit says yes to it. And so as you begin to align with a different possibility, things shift, things happen. So act like you know it will happen. Know, the word know, like a knowing. Have you ever known something was going to happen? Right? And what happens when you know it? It happens, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, right? So we can know it positively or negatively. The Bible has a story about a prophet telling people to dig ditches in preparation for a storm that's going to happen, and the people are really resistant because they've had a drought for such a long time. But eventually they dig the ditch, and what happens? It rains. So that's a good analogy for what we're talking about here. Just keep doing the work with the expectancy that it's going to happen. Another way to act as though it's already true is to ask for what you want. You know, often we don't ask for what we want, but there's no harm in asking, whether you're asking in prayer or you're asking another human being. Worst thing that can happen, you get a no, right? You haven't lost anything. So asking for what you want. And burn your bridges to the past, right? So often we're just walking, but we're looking backwards, right? We're looking backwards. Where's our attention then? It's on the past, right? It's on what's wrong. You know, burn the bridges to the past. Keep moving. And commit to what you want. So the next step is acting as though it's already happening. And William James, who was a famous philosopher and psychologist, actually came up with this idea. And he said it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than to think your way into a new way of acting. I thought that was brilliant. And think about it like a persona. We actually did personas in our class that we just finished this week. We asked everyone to put on a persona of the person they wanted to be. But think about it like a mask. When you change your mask, people react to you differently. Or think about it like My Fair Lady, you know, the story Pygmalion. She acted like a lady and she became one. And finally, act calmly and with confident expectancy. This idea really focuses on the fact that how you feel determines how well you do. So acting calm with positive expectancy tells your subconscious mind that you're going to succeed because you're calm. You're not fearful. And you're trusting that the action that you're taking is going to yield fruit. And again, I'm going to remind you, you're not doing it alone. You're doing it with spirit. You know, fear is not a good long-term motivator for anybody. And that's what we really want to turn away from. We want to turn away from fear. And we want to focus on, you know, how well we're doing and keep focused in that energy. We want to keep focused on what's going well. And really, it's about trusting life, right? When we act calmly and confidently, we're trusting life. We're trusting that life is good, that life is for us. And if you're open to receive it, it will come to you. Maybe not exactly the way you think it will, maybe not exactly when you think it will, but good is always coming to you. It's already coming to you. And are you able to see the good that's already coming to you? You know, it's present in small things and it's present in big things. But so often our energy is focused on what is not exactly the way we want it to be, that we don't see the good that's already present. So give yourself the gift of opening to the good, to calling it in and working with it affirmatively to open up the container for you to receive more good. And, you know, I was thinking about this morning. Just let yourself be happy. You know, how often do we just not give ourselves permission to be happy? And you can be happy in spite of whatever's going on. You can be happy in the little things. Like my dad used to love Dairy Queen. You gave my dad a dilly bar, man, he was the happiest man. He was so happy. And so, you know, you think about some of the happiest days of your life. Were they about things? right? You know, I remember going camping with my family when I was little. That was some of the happiest time of my life, right? And sitting and playing the guitar, not me, someone else, by the fire, and, just allow yourself to be happy, because that's really the point of all of this. So I'm going to take us into prayer in a second, because we have a new snazzy clock, so I can actually see how many minutes I have left. But I want to invite you actually to go and take this into practice this week. And whatever you choose for your affirmation to yourself, I want you to consciously this week pick a couple sentences to affirm to yourself, whether they're the ones we read from Ernest Holmes today, like I'm practicing a greater expectation, I'm believing in more and accepting more, or just as simple as I am open to receive my good. I just invite you to come up with a couple little affirmations that you're going to use this week, and just remind yourself and put it into prayer, because that is how our mind helps us to expand our awareness, is by affirming what we're paying attention to and our intention. So let's take this into prayer. Oh, how good it is to turn to prayer on this beautiful day where good is happening. And I know that this good is spirit, God, life, love, whatever word you have for this good. I just know and affirm the presence of good. And I know that I am one with this good, and I know that each person hearing my words is one with this good. And so I know and declare for each of us today that we are more and more open all the time to receiving. That anything that is blocking this receiving, I just know and declare that it is moved by the power of this word. And I just know that we are receptive, that we are allowing Spirit to move us, that we are opening to a bigger vision of what is possible. And I know it for us individually, and I know this for us collectively, and I also know this for Cityside. I know the good is happening, and I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful to know that this good is manifesting always and everywhere. And I'm grateful to know that this good is manifesting for each of us now. And with so much gratitude for all of this, I simply say, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen. Thank you, Reverend Aimee. Beautiful. So, from this place, from this beautiful message and this beautiful time, we come into our time of offering our tithes and gifts, and just connecting into this as part of the reciprocal nature of life, knowing that as we give, we receive. And Cityside is a community-supported organization, and each week we practice conscious giving to support Cityside in creating the space and the experience and this community and all that is. And I give to Cityside because it's my spiritual home. It's just where I get spiritually fed. It's where I feel connected and supported. And I am wanting it to just simply be in the world forever. And so I just invest into it as it invests in me. And you can find 4 easy ways to give on our website. You can give a one-time gift electronically. You can set up recurring giving. You can make a request to receive an address to mail a check if that's something that you wish to do. And the easiest and probably the most popular way is to text to give. And texting to give is simple. You simply text the word give to 312-757-8111. And I always like to remind you that if you've set yourself up for text to give and you want to make a change, text the word update and you can make changes. If you want to change the credit card or something else, you can change that. So again, text the word GIVE to 312-757-8111. And just taking a breath as we move into that giving and from that place of consciousness, saying our giving affirmation, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain. We all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Thank you, Greg. So if you're joining us for the first time, I especially want to welcome you. We hope that you find something that resonates for you here and that you consider making Cityside your spiritual home. Please use the subscribe button at the header of the website to join our mailing list so we can keep in touch with you, let you know all that's going on in the community. We have a lot going on, not just on Sundays. We really want to keep in touch and make sure that you have everything that you need and we can support you in every way in your spiritual journey. We have an upcoming class, mental equivalence. I don't know, some strange guy is going to be part of teaching it. I don't know who he is. I never introduced myself. I'm John Adams, spiritual practitioner, and myself and the wonderful practitioner, Krista Brumberg, are going to be facilitating this class in mental equivalence. I always like to tell this story. So Alan Cumming is an actor. You may know him, you may not. Doesn't matter. He has a friend who adored Oprah, and Oprah was being honored at this event. And so his friend's like, we got to go. So Alan finagled a ticket, but they got a table way in the back by the bathroom, and his friend was like, oh my God, we're never going to meet Oprah. Anyway, Oprah had to go to the bathroom, so she's walking right by their table. So Alan's friend jumps up and says, Oprah, a photo with you would be my dream. And Oprah, being Oprah, says, oh, honey, you got to get bigger dreams. And so that's what we're going to be doing in mental equivalence. We're going to be looking at getting a bigger dream for your life and taking it out of the realm of dream into experience. So I hope you can join us. You can register online. And I want to really give a special thanks to our creative team, really for Dom and Keith for running our live stream and our tech, for Greg for taking care of us with his beautiful music and his genius. You know, you can find Greg on Spotify, Greg Woods on Spotify, so check out his music. It's really fantastic. Thank you, Reverend Aimee, for a beautiful talk today. Jonathan for coordinating, Judy for our prayer and meditation, Jason for greeting, and for anybody else? Who am I leaving out? Anybody? That's it. I did Dom and Keith. Yep. They are always awesome. We love them very much because they take such good care of us and they have such great big hearts. So our team is really phenomenal. So you should come, join us here in the space and just connect with everyone. It'd be great. So don't forget to make a reservation. Next week, we've got Reverend Russ Laguerre, who will begin our June theme, Divine Reciprocity, Strengthening Your Use of Mental Equivalence. So there you go. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and a blessed, blessed day. Thank you.
Her eyes make the stars look like they're not shining. Your hair falls perfectly without you trying. You're so beautiful, and I tell you every day. I know, when I compliment you won't believe me. It's so sad to think that you don't see what I see. But every time you ask me, do I look okay? I say, when I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change, because you're amazing just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while, because you're amazing just the way you are. See, your eyes make the stars look like they're not shining. Your hair falls perfectly without you trying. You're so beautiful, and I tell you every day. I know, when I compliment you won't believe me. It's so sad to think that you don't see what I see. But every time you ask me, do I look okay? I say, when I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change, because you're amazing just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while, because you're amazing just the way you are. The way you are, the way you are, because you're amazing just the way you are. When I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change, because you're amazing just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while, because you're amazing just the way you are. Have a great week, Cityside.